The sun dipped low over the jagged Arizona horizon as Ethan Cole, a quiet rancher known more for talking to his horses than to people, guided his weary mare through the red dust trail that cut across the silent valleys. His ranch was a lonely kingdom of broken fences, empty corrals, and memories of a family lost to time. And on this particular evening, he felt that loneliness like a weight on his saddle. The wind carried strange whispers, drum beats, soft voices, the rustle of movement at the edges of the mesquite forest, but before Ethan could turn his reins, a blur of shadow and color burst from the brush. In a heartbeat, he was surrounded by a ring of silently moving Apache women, their faces painted for the hunt, their bows drawn with breathtaking precision. Their leader, a tall warrior with hawk-sharp eyes and hair braided with feathers, stepped forward, pressed a spearhead gently to his chest, and said in a voice steady as the desert stone, "You ride on sacred land, rancher." Before Ethan could speak, they swept him from his saddle with disciplined coordination, tying his wrists, blindfolding him, and leading him deep into the heart of their territory. When the cloth was removed, Ethan found himself in an Apache, women's encampment unlike anything he'd imagined, organized, vibrant, filled with the scent of sage, roasting corn and leatherwork. Children paused their play to stare at him. Warriors stood with hands on weapons, and elders watched with unreadable eyes. Instead of hostility, however, there was tension wrapped with curiosity. The leader, whose name he later learned was Naya, walked around him like she was reading a book only she could understand. She questioned him, why he crossed their land, what his intentions were, whether he was allied with the men who hunted their people. His voice trembled as he answered truthfully. He sought only passage and peace, had no tribe or family, and barely had enough cattle to call himself a rancher. Something in that confession softened the atmosphere around him. The younger women whispered that he had kind eyes. The older ones murmured that he carried sadness like a wound. Over the next days of captivity, Ethan was surprised to find that his captors treated him not with cruelty but with strength and structure. They made him work, help gather firewood, tend horses, and learn basic Apache phrases so he could communicate. And the more he worked, the more the women watched him, not with suspicion, but with growing fascination. He fixed a broken water trough that no warrior had patience for. He helped an injured girl calm a panicked pony, and he showed them a trick his father taught him to find hidden groundwater by following entrails. Slowly, this lonely rancher began to dissolve barriers, simply by being gentle where others were harsh. Naya observed from a distance, hiding her curiosity behind stoic warrior discipline, though her eyes betrayed a spark whenever Ethan smiled. One night, after helping repair a ceremonial drum, Ethan found himself seated near the communal fire, and the tribe invited him to listen as they shared stories of battles, victories, and the resilience of their women. He expected to feel out of place, but instead he felt like someone who had been wandering too long and accidentally stumbled into a world that made sense. As he grew closer to them, rumors spread among the women. Some said the spirits guided him to their land. Others said a man with a heart like his was meant to stay. Ethan only knew that for the first time in years he didn't feel alone. The night before the great tribal ceremony, Naya approached him privately and challenged him to prove his honor by completing a sacred trial, retrieving a rare white sage plant growing high on Eagle Ridge. It was dangerous terrain, known for deadly drops and mountain lions, but Ethan accepted, seeing in Naya's eyes something beyond a mere test. At dawn he climbed the ridge with determination, pushing through thorns, unstable rocks, and the burning desert heat. When he found the white sage blooming in a crack between boulders, he reached for it only to slip, his foot sliding off the ledge. A sharp cry tore from his throat as he dangled dangerously, but just as his grip failed, strong hands seized his wrist. Naya had followed him, driven by a fear she refused to acknowledge. Together, breathless, they climbed back to safety. That moment changed everything. Her walls cracked. His heart opened, and a bond deeper than either expected began to form. When they returned to the village with the white sage, the tribe erupted in celebration. Women surrounded Ethan, admiring his courage, teasing him affectionately, praising his spirit. For the first time in his life, he stood in the center of a circle, not as an outsider, not as a captive, but as someone cherished. And as the drums echoed across the desert night, Ethan realized something he had never imagined. The lonely rancher had not only earned their respect, He had begun to win every woman's heart. The stars glistened above, the fire cast warm shadows, and the tribe danced around him in a breathtaking swirl of color and unity, and Ethan Cole knew his life was about to change forever. Before the night ended, he looked directly at the viewers who would one day hear his story and said with the boldness of a man finally belonging, "If you're still watching, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more stories like this. Your support keeps these legends alive." The dawn after the ceremony rose in streaks of amber and gold, touching every corner of the Apache women's encampment with warmth and awakening energy. And Ethan Cole opened his eyes to a world that felt entirely transformed since the night before. The tribe no longer looked at him as an intruder or stranger. Instead, every woman who passed him greeted him with smiles, nods or gifts, fresh cornbread, woven bracelets, small carved tokens meant to bring luck. Children ran to him shouting his name. Warriors offered to teach him their skills, and elders invited him to sit with them as though he were a grandson long lost. Ethan tried to convince himself he didn't belong, that he was only a rancher who had accidentally wandered into their lives. But the tribe saw something different, someone who carried respect, humility, and heart in equal measure. Naya, the fierce warrior leader, kept a careful distance that was slowly shrinking, as if every hour tested her ability to keep the boundary between duty and a feeling she refused to name. She watched him train with the younger warriors, admired the way he learned their techniques with determination, and the more she studied him, the more she realized how deeply he had woven himself into their community without even trying. But the harmony they were building soon faced a storm. One afternoon, while the tribe prepared for the Harvest Moon Festival, a scout returned breathless, announcing that a group of outlaw men, known raiders who preyed on settlements and native camps, had been seen moving near the river. These raiders had attacked Apache camps before, stealing horses, burning homes, and kidnapping women. Fear rippled across the camp like a sudden windstorm. The women gathered weapons. The elders prepared the children to hide. Naya assembled the warriors in a decisive, commanding voice. Ethan felt the same protective fire rising in his chest. Though he wasn't Apache by blood, their kindness had wrapped itself around him like a second skin, and he could not watch them face danger alone. He stepped forward, telling Naya that he would fight with them. She argued. This was not his battle. The raiders were ruthless, and she would not risk losing someone who had become important to the tribe. But Ethan stood firm, telling her with quiet intensity that the women had shown him more family, more belonging than he had felt in years, and he would not abandon them to the men who meant them harm. His words struck Naya deeper than a spear. She finally nodded, her eyes softening with respect and something warmer. As the tribe prepared for battle, Ethan felt every heartbeat echo through the desert, carrying the weight of the coming fight. When the raiders arrived, loud, armed, reckless, the women's tribe did not cower. They moved with disciplined precision, bows singing through the air, horses charging like thunder, warriors calling out to one another in perfect unity. Ethan fought beside them, using his rancher's strength and sharp instincts to defend the camp. He tackled a raider who got too close to the women's horses, disarmed another who tried to attack a child, and shielded an elder from a blow by taking it across his own shoulder. Pain seared through him, but he fought harder, driven by something fierce and protective. Naya fought like a storm, cutting through attackers with grace and fury. But when she saw Ethan fall to one knee after taking another hit, something inside her broke open. She rushed to his side, fighting off the raider with a roar that echoed across the battlefield. When the dust settled and the raiders fled, defeated, the camp erupted in cries, not of fear, but of victory. But Naya ignored the celebration as she knelt beside Ethan, cupping his face with trembling hands. He was bruised, battered and bleeding, but alive, and when he managed a tired smile, she felt her composure shatter. Before the entire tribe, she pressed her forehead to his and whispered words in Apache that meant, "My heart stands with you." The warriors around them cheered loudly, with approval and excitement sparking like wildfire. That night, as the Harvest Moon Festival flames rose tall into the sky, Ethan sat beside Naya in a place of honor by the central fire. Women surrounded him, touching his shoulders, thanking him, praising his bravery. Elders declared that he had proven himself not by blood, but by spirit. a rare gift few outsiders ever earned. Ethan felt overwhelmed, humbled, and deeply grateful. The tribe began to dance, their silhouettes moving like shadows woven into the firelight, and Naya leaned closer, telling him that the spirits had guided him to their land for a reason. She confessed that she had tried to stay distant, bound by responsibility as the tribe's protector, but she could no longer deny the bond between them. Ethan, heart-pounding, took her hands and told her he felt the same, that the loneliness he had carried for years had lifted the moment he found their tribe, found her. The women nearby gasped and cheered, some playfully chanting blessings for the pair, others teasing Naya for finally letting her heart speak. Under the glowing moon, the tribe gifted Ethan a ceremonial necklace symbolizing courage and belonging. As he placed it around his neck, he felt tears sting his eyes. This tribe, these powerful, resilient women, had become the home he never thought he would find. By the end of the night, as music echoed into the stars and the tribe celebrated victory and love alike, Ethan turned his gaze outward, as if speaking to every viewer who would hear his tale. One day, and with a warm, confident smile, said, "If this story touched your heart, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Your support keeps these powerful legends alive, and there are many more adventures waiting for you." With that final vow, the lonely rancher who once wandered the desert with nothing had now found a place, a family, and a love stronger than any he had known, proving that sometimes the fiercest warriors have the gentlest hearts, and the greatest battles lead to the most unforgettable bonds.